This timeout is sponsored by Augie's Locker Room. Augie's features the largest collection of Notre Dame football memorabilia and gifts, including rare and hard-to-find items.
Hey, this is Augie, Augie's Locker Room. Website, augieslockerroom.com. Visit us here or the website.
Tim Prister with Tim O'Malley, John Brice outside of School Field. Notre Dame conducts their 12th practice of the preseason, a full one. Man, we saw a ton of snaps tonight, and frankly, most of them went the defense's way. I didn't think the quarterbacks played poorly, but I thought the wide receivers did.
Yeah, they didn't help them out much at all. Tobias Merriweather did not make plays that were available. Deion Colsey barely involved. Jaden Greathouse had a scrimmage touchdown, but it was one-on-one against a walk-on. I didn't think Rico Flores stood out as much as we had seen in brief practice viewings. Also, the offense was hamstrung a little bit because of early injuries to running backs today. I don't think Audric Estime's was serious, but once he turns an ankle, Audric Estime's not going to play the rest of the scrimmage. And a heavy scrimmage day, I think there was a lot of work for Skip Vallata as a walk-on. That doesn't necessarily help your offense against that defense.
Yeah, there were 3 running backs down in addition to Audric Estime. Jeremiah Love was very limited. Jabron Payne was injured during a kick return, kick coverage session with a left ankle, and so he was out. So it was a lot of backups. JB, I thought the interior defensive line continues to impress me. Riley Mills is making plays. The energy level of Jason Anye is off the chart because they just finished a long scrimmage and he was still screaming and running around on the last play of the evening.
Yeah, I thought that as we touched on in Monday's analysis, that Ramon Henderson talked about this being a great defense, if not the best defense in college football. And certainly our exposure to the defense full scale this preseason camp has been limited. But this was an extremely strong and very energetic, frenetic performance by the Notre Dame defense. I thought you saw some comfortability on that side of the ball that they're still trying to find on the offensive side of the ball. I will say Devin Ford impressed me a lot when he got extra reps at that running back position. And there were some other good things. The timing, I don't think, is still there as much as it needs to be between Hartman and some of the receivers. But the defense won the day.
There was no shortage of vocal support on both sides. Both teams very energetic tonight. And we mentioned the injuries. The one that's the most concerning is Cam Hart took a shot, what it looked like a concussion-type injury, took a shot right on the button and staggered off and wandered down to the end of field and sat down with one of the trainers and didn't come back. And so that was discouraging. We didn't see Junior Tui Alamaka playing a defensive end, and Nolan Ziegler continues to be absent. Offensively, Kevin Bauman out. Colsey was not participating during certain portions, but the disappointing thing for me is the wide receiver play. We're still looking for Merriweather to make a play, and he had an opportunity on a back shoulder throw in the end zone right off the bat. It was a good throw by Hartman. It was defended pretty well, but those are the kind of plays that you're looking for if your wide receiver core is going to take off, and that didn't happen. Ramon Henderson had an interception, a deep ball interception late in the practice. I think all of us thought that Christian Gray had a nice day at cornerback, the freshman.
Christian Gray had a really nice day, especially at the end. He was on coverage when Ramon Henderson came over and made the pick. This might tell you what you need to know about the wide receivers and Sam Hartman right now. Hartman threw that into double coverage against Matt Salerno, who had the 2 best catches of the day by far in one-on-ones, and Ramon Henderson came over to pick it off because he needed Salerno to make a play for him. Christian Gray came up and had a tackle for loss, which is what you really like to see out of a freshman, and then he broke up a pass. The play against Hartman when he was in coverage was against ones. The other things we're saying were against 2s and 3s, so you always got to take that with a grain of salt. But, yeah, I thought the corners played well. I thought when Deion Colsey did get in, I didn't realize he was wearing number 20 and wearing white, so he had some trouble getting open in that situation. He was not really able to extricate himself from that situation often. The tight ends played well, though. Holden Stays made a beautiful catch. Mitchell Evans got a touchdown. We'll get to that, too. Mitchell Evans and Ford both scored on touchdowns, and this is the bad news. We think they got Jalen Sneed on a play. However, Jalen Sneed was all over the field today, other than I think what were 2 busts. And you know what? Get him out of those situations because he was a violent player today.
He was really good on kick coverage, too, early in the practice. We've been continuing to monitor the offensive line situation, and throughout the entire practice, the number 1 left guard was Pat Coogan, the number 1 right guard was Rocco Spindler. I don't know if everything changes from this point or this was the last audition, but I can't imagine that on August 8th, how many days, 16 days from from the first game that they're going to suddenly flip the switch back to Schrouth and Kristofik. It doesn't look like it, John.
No, it doesn't look like it at all, especially as you know, 16 days or so until kickoff. They're moving out of the camp portion of things by the end of this week. And I tried to chart it, guys, early on, even before we saw the team set, when they were just doing O-line versus D-line drills. It was those 5 every single time. There was never a first-team rep with the offensive line that those 2 guys weren't in at guard. Later in what we saw, then there was a backup in for Zeke Correll as they gave him a break, and that was very clearly a case of load management. As for Jalen Snead, I thought he was electric. Boubacar Traore was really good. A late personal foul, but you love the energy that he brought. There were just a bunch of guys on the defensive side of the ball, I thought, that made really great plays, and there was energy on both sides, but the energy level was different on the defensive side of the ball.
Getting back to what I said originally, I don't think any of the quarterbacks threw the ball poorly. When Hartman had a guy open, he hit him. When he had a back shoulder throw to Merriweather didn't make the play. I thought Kenny Minchie, we've talked about his arm strength. He had a beautiful throw rolling to his right and rifled it to Jaden Greathouse. Greathouse, among the receivers, who had the whiteouts anyway, because Stays looked great, and Evans had a touchdown as well. But other than, was somebody better than Greathouse? Tyree may have flashed a couple times, but that was pretty much underneath. This is what we've been talking about with the wide receiver core. You go into this and you're very encouraged, but when we have opportunities to see these guys make plays, they just haven't done it.
Yeah, Greathouse had he caught a short screen, made Jaden Mickey miss, made a couple other players miss, and gained about 19 yards, and that's relevant because Mickey was playing well, and that's against the twos, so that's kind of a relevant play for Greathouse. I want to go back to the defensive line, though, because they did dominate today. I felt like Riley Mills might have been the standout player. We just forget about him because he keeps making good plays. But if you're going to probably read other people's reports, they're not going to be wrong when they say Gabriel Rubio and Jason Anye are all over the field. Rubio looks like he's shot out of a cannon once in a while. They have a nice quartet inside, and that might be more important news than when Notre Dame's down 3 backs that the defense wins the scrimmage, because that defensive line is making plays right now.
Yeah. And that stays according to plan. And we've been talking about the interior defensive line, and they've been good throughout the preseason. Now, the kicking situation, I don't think there's any doubt that Spencer Schrader is the guy. He hit a 52-yarder, hit a 49-yarder. Both of the 49-yarder could have been close to 60. He easily drilled that. He came up a little bit short on a 51-yarder when he just didn't hit the fat part of the football. But, one of our colleagues, Pete Sampson, has mentioned just how easy the football comes off his foot and how easily he attacks the football. He looked really good. And then as far as the punters, John, I still think that there's an inconsistency between the two, but there's just no doubt that Bryce McPherson has the better leg.
And while there might be some inconsistency that you hope to continue to work through the next couple of weeks before that season opener, I watched him. He was really good at dropping the ball inside the 20-yard line, and they worked that heavily. I also thought early in today's setting that we saw some great things from Marty Biagi's return team. One of the interesting drills, 3-on-3 with the return man being delayed before he could release and try to get upfield, and clearly the return team dominated the coverage team in that setting. I thought that was really impressive. One more note on Gabriel Rubio. He's part of Notre Dame's what appears to be their first team punt shield, which was Gabriel Rubio, Josh Burnham, and Mitchell Evans. That's 3 pretty stout guys that are giving your punter a great wall right there. It's a small thing, but I think it's an important thing.
We're going to have Tim O'Malley's wrap up his overview of tonight's practice. You'll get that probably pretty late tonight, and then John and I will have our offensive and defensive reports in the morning. This is a snapshot of what we saw tonight. For everything that you want to know about what's going on with Notre Dame football, check out irishillustrated.com.